Every single person in Havenridge was wailed by the siren blared throughout the valley, a scream that tore at the nerves. Though drills had been standard since the facility opened 30 years ago, this time the rhythm was off. It was not the first time they had heard it. Too much time and too hurried. Ellen grabbed her daughter Mia and ran to the basement, the emergency radio blazing to life as they dropped. Meltdown observed. Containment breach, flee right away. The voice had mechanical quality and no hope. As Ellen latched the door, her hands shook and her eyes flew to the dusty Geiger counter on the shelf, a souvenir from her anxious father. She turned on this. The needle trembled, then screamed, sprinting beyond safe limits in a few seconds. Whining, Mia held her teddy bunny. Outside, the heavens became sickly yellow, as if the sun itself had curdled. Breath-catching, Ellen stared through the little basement window. The trees all around the yard were drooping, their blackened, curled leaves like burning paper. A deer staggered into view, raw, gleaming skin exposed as its fur sloughed off in clumps. It dropped, jerking with watery, blind eyes. Ellen's bones vibrated with a gentle hum instead of the radio cutoff. She drew Mia tightly and whispered falsehoods about things being good. Then came the sound, a thick, gurgling roar from above, like 1,000 throats choked at once. Steps thudded on the uneven and hefty flooring above. The front door was not locked. They had not looked around the home. "Mom?" asked Mia said with a trembling voice. Ellen looked at the basement door and placed a palm over her lips. The knobs shook. Something slow, purposeful, like nails on a chalkboard. Something scraped at the wood. With its needle locked at maximum, the Geiger counter grumbled. The door creaked open, and a shadow long and twisted human, but not extended down the steps. Ellen's scream stopped in her throat when the odor of burnt flesh and burned metal saturated the air. Not in any sense that counted. Whatever had hitherto been alive up there was no longer. Time vanished in darkness. Measuring Mia's faint gasps and the Geiger counter's constant ticking until its battery expired. Days become weeks, then months. Above, the monster moved slowly, pulling something heavy and scraped at the door. Ellen's body shriveled. Hair fell out, skin scorching, hands changed into bulging, brilliant grotesqueries. Mia indicated her demise with sunken eyes and scaly sores. Still, the physical deterioration was only starting. The real terror rotted in their brains, a gradual turn that survived the early burns of the radiation. Ellen's mind broke thread by thread. It was first the isolation, trapped in the cellar, every sound amplified as a menace. The footfall of the creature became to be a metronome of fear, each thud undermining her hold on reality. Sleep provided no respite. Dreams of Havenridge's streets teemed with brilliant, eyeless forms, whispering her name spilled into waking hours. She believed it, and would wake screaming at her own flesh-dot building. The long-term psychological consequences emerged like a parasite. Even after the creature broke through, Ellen had an obsessive desire to check the cellar door. Though she could not be sure what it was anymore, she would shuffle to it, shaking, staring through the shattered wood, murmuring, "It's still there." She was paranoid. Every creak indicated something. Every shadow threatened her. She started to perceive Mia differently. The quiet and empty looks of her daughter turning in Ellen's broken mind into something ominous. She said, "You're one of them," backing away, but Mia hardly moved. She also felt guilt eating at her. She played again the scene they fled to the basement, berating herself for not securing the front door and for not leaving town. Mia's suffering, her rasping gasps, her dead body, became Ellen's failure, a cycle of self-recrimination running forever. Her voice was scratchy and broken. She would rock back and forth mumbling apologies to nobody. Memory bent like a weapon. Ellen lost faith in what she remembered. 10 minutes or 10 seconds passed as the siren sounded. Was the deer outside genuine, or had she imagined its flesh flaking away? She would fix her gaze on the basement walls, following fissures that seemed to move when she turned away, sure they sent signals she would not understand. Her former existence, picnics by the river, Mia's laughing, seemed like someone else's story, a cruel illusion she did not deserve. Though in quieter, subtler ways, Mia's psyche collapsed too. After the first month, she stopped talking and withdrew into a realm Ellen was unable to access. Her fingers bleeding from the effort, she would sit for hours drawing jagged, multi-limbed figures in the dust. Mia's eyes, milky and far, fixed on Ellen when she inquired what they were, and she murmured, "They're us now." Her bond to the rabbit became compulsive. She would rub its ruptured seams and whisper secrets to it, as if it had the answers Ellen could not provide. Once Ellen heard her whimpering, "I need to get out," copying the rabbit's shredded fabric, attempting to tear her own scaly skin off. The psychological fall nourished the physical. Ellen was tired from her compulsions. Her body was too weak to withstand the toll the radiation took. Mia stopped eating, as if punishing the body she no longer knew. Her detachment lessened her suffering, but accelerated her drop. Now a quiet guardian with its brilliant fractures, the object above became a mirror reflecting their damaged brains, a representation of what they dreaded they might have become. Years later, if years still meant anything, Ellen was a husk, her ideas a whirl of shame, dread, and illusion. She laughed at nothing, a dry, barking sound, or screamed at shadows dancing in her peripheral vision. Curled in the corner, Mia was a stillness and scale monument, her bunny held like a talisman. Their jail was the basement. However, their thoughts were the real wasteland, rewritten into something incomprehensible from a breakdown that did not just ruin Havenridge.